corruption in the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister of Uganda is not doing enough to stamp out corruption within his own ministry. Maybe it's time for the Prime Minister to step down. For many years, we have been coming across incident about corruption taking place around him and in his ministry. And it seems he is doing nothing to clean up his own house. He is doing nothing to clean up his own house. We had cases where donors pull out because of corruptions. The government of UK and Germany, to mention a few, they did pull out due to refugee saga corruption case. Now that the world is facing a hard time with coronavirus, we read about stolen COVID-19 relief item that is destined to help our people is being diverted for personal use. Some of the items that were recovered from a house belonging to one of his commissioners in charge of disaster preparedness in the office of the Prime Minister. Here we have the staff working for the Prime Ministers. Those in high positions are stealing when it doesn't know that something is missing. I don't believe it. I understand that some of the staff had been arrested because of their involvement, inflating prices of COVID-19 relief food. Can you imagine? Our people are dying. Here you have the Prime Minister's office that have already failed to manage his own staff. He failed. We understand that those involved are now in custody. They found hundreds of kilos of food out there. The items that was meant to support Ugandans in need. What is going on in the Pearl of Africa? This is telling us that the entire government of Uganda has lost control over government activities. Everybody is doing what they want, when they want, and they are stealing whenever they feel like they have to steal. This shows us that you're not in control, Mr. President. Everybody can do what they want, put their hand on anything they can steal, in order to get rich. Believe me, as I said before, these are the signs and symptoms of a failed state. Abuse of office is the order of the day. Believe me, if the same was happening in other countries or in Europe, the Prime Minister would resign. And with this, we call on the Prime Minister of Uganda to resign. The Prime Minister of Uganda should rule by example, which we are not seeing. It is time he stepped down. Let someone else come in and stop the nonsense. It is not the first time that the office of the Prime Minister peddled through corruption. It takes us back to the refugee saga, corruption, and many more. And if the Prime Minister still have a little bit of dignity and respect for himself, he should step down. He cannot continue as nothing happened. You catch the small chicken thieves, you send them to prison, but you leave the snake, or you leave the head of the snake on. We all know corruption is a lucrative business in Uganda of today. And it seems as if it's not stopping. Everything that is happening with corruption in Uganda, it starts from the top. And that is where the bus stop. I saw a Lieutenant Colonel Nakatana tweeting that the president said that he will make sure that anyone abusing their offices are brought to book, claiming that they rely on information from the public. That statement is nonsense to me. A state should not only rely from the information that comes from the public. The government should do our job. Any information from the public is additional information to help a state. So if the government was doing their job, we would not be in this situation whereby people goes and steal, relief, help. Moreover, in the office of the Prime Minister, which is, and you cannot believe it, We all know that it is the duty of any state, wherever they are, to rule by example. Whatever information the public gives you is just additional information, which is welcome. But you, as a government, should have a strategy to root out corruption within your organization. The best thing the president should have done is to ask the prime minister to step down. He has failed the state several times. He failed to clean up his house. An history of corruption within his ministry keep turning up day in, day out. Look at the people, the officials who are in detention now. The permanent secretary, assistant commissioner procurement, commissioner disaster management. What does it tell you? What does it tell you? People in high position within his ministry. And all these people should have ruled by example. Let's look back and say that everything we do, it begins from the top. The Prime Minister is the man that should be held responsible, because he failed to detect what is going on in his own house. The Prime Minister is in charge, and whatever happened within that glass house, it is his responsibilities. Arresting these officers leads back to the big man himself. When you are in that position as the Prime Minister of Uganda, you have to rule by example. You have to give a good example to the people you manage, to the country you lead as the Prime Minister, because they're looking at you as the head, as the leader. And when corruption comes from your own nest, then there's something wrong with the state. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The Prime Minister is a good person. But looking back to what had been happening within the office of the Prime Minister for the last few years, it tells us that those who held those office lost control, and their leadership style is not taking them anywhere. He should have acted with full power when the refugee scandal broke out. That was a warning. But he did nothing. And those stealing within his own ministry, and those who had been stealing, we don't know whether all of them had been suspended or sent to prison. And believe me, those who had been stealing are still out there, driving big cars around Kampala. Corruption in the office of the Prime Minister date back to Sogam in 2007. And in 2011, several ministers, including the former Vice President, Gilbert Bukenya, the Prime Minister, Amama Mbabazi, and some state ministers, or the State Minister for Works and Transport, were implicated in the mismanagement of billions of public funds meant for the 2007 Sogam Summit. You all know about the scandal and did nothing about it. The President commissioned a probe and found out that the money was lost in irregular procurement of Sogam cars, road constructions and repairs, renovation of Entebbe Airport. And you did nothing. About punishing those who were involved in that corruption. That should have already been the beginning of investigation to find out who are the people involved in just a lucrative deals within the ministry. If you had taken strong measures at that time when the corruption started with the Sogam, we would have got rid of all those people now. Nobody would come and start doing the same thing again. What does it tell us, the common man? What about the Global Fund in 2008? With the money that was meant for malaria and tuberculosis drugs programs. The Tamagalo scandals in 2008, the ID scandal in 2010, microfinance and 𝙏𝙝𝙖𝙣𝙠 𝙔𝙤𝙪 in 2011 just to mention a few. The corruption in the ministry and that of the Prime Minister office should have rang a bell, should have told you to start doing something about it. But if we go back so many years, that the corruption comes in the same office, in the happen every 2 years or every year. So we could say, nobody knows what is happening in that office. Nobody knows what is happening in different ministries. Nobody knows how much money is being stolen day in, day out. Is this how we're going to rule this country? Every time a big scandal comes around, we close our eyes. We do as if nothing happened. And life goes on. And we wait until another corruption pops up. We talk about it, the president will talk about it, and then that is the end of the journey. And the president will order arrest of few people. And the head of a snake goes free. The head of a snake goes free. Let me remind you about another scandal in the Prime Minister's office in 2012. The money meant for peace recovery and development plan for northern Uganda was transferred to a crisis management and recovery account, depriving the people of northern Uganda to taste a piece of cake for development. What I don't understand is that every time you hear about the office of the Prime Minister, it tells you that the office of the Prime Minister is a breeding ground for corruption. And the unlucky one on the top ends up in prison. But most of them, they go free. Only the small fish, only the small fish goes to prison. Of course, we understand. If you're a small fish and you're caught, you'll be eaten. The same as if we have a theory that the small fish are nicer than the big one, because the big one are not going to be eaten, only the small one, because they taste nice. You'll be caught and you'll go to prison. But the head of the snake will be free, will still be there. And this is not something we can accept or we can let go. I wonder what has happened to Uganda. I know. We just take things today As nothing is wrong at all with our people. But when you start to think properly and you use your head, you'll understand that we are living as slaves in our own body. Because when your mind is already tuned to stealing whatever you want to steal, you don't even care about the people who are dying and those reliefs sent to help our people. You steal it, you sell it, you put the money in your pocket, you feed your family well, while other people are dying out there. We don't take care of one another anymore. Why? We don't think of one another anymore. Why? Because of the loose talk from our own president that is not working for the people of Uganda, that is working for himself and his family. So everybody is following your footstep, Mr. President, because you came out, you said it. Maybe it is time you go back to the people of Uganda and tell them that what you said was not true. You are a servant of the people. Because if you tell them you are not, then it is time you too, Mr. President, you have to step down. You fought the Bush War, but everybody can go back to the bush and fight also. You should not forget that. Corruption in your Prime Minister's office had been going on for years. And whatever you tell us Ugandans today does no longer make a difference. People has given up because you, the President of Uganda, and the Anti-Corruption Brigade, you just talk to talk. What we would like to see from you, Mr. President, just ask the Prime Minister to step down. That alone will send a powerful message to those who are out there, to those who are claiming that they are untouchable. And let me be clear, the untouchable can become touchable in future when we start with the real corruption table dance. Just don't come out and tell us the same old stories, because we know it is just meant to save or to polish the government image. Thieves are in the system and they are not planning to go out or to go anywhere soon. They are not planning to go out or to go anywhere. They are there. can go around Uganda, you'll find all those representatives of youth, all those local defense units you're creating, all those military top brass are involved in the same thing that is happening in the Prime Minister's office. It is a trend. It has become a nice way to earn money, and it is a tradition within your own system. Let's hope you ask your Prime Minister to step down. Thank you for listening. I'll be